The great palace of the Varellan Empire was filled with bright lights and soft humming machines. It was a place where many important meetings happened, where leaders from many worlds came together. Today was special. Queen Elvori, the ruler of the Varellans, was hosting a summit with representatives from distant planets. The air was full of hope and excitement. Queen Elvori was not just a ruler. She was a symbol of peace and strength for her people. Her presence filled the room with calm power. She could speak not only with words but with her mind. The Varellans shared thoughts easily. It was like talking without speaking. Everyone in the room felt her presence like a warm light. But suddenly, something strange happened. In the middle of the meeting, the queen's voice stopped. The light in her eyes dimmed, her body shook slightly, and then she fell to the floor. The room went silent. Guards rushed forward. The healers were called immediately. Tomel, a human guard, was among the queen's protectors. He had been assigned to her after the Varellans welcomed humans into their ranks. Tomel was tall and strong, with dark hair and kind eyes. He was proud to serve the queen, but he was also careful and observant. He noticed things others did not. As the healers examined the queen, Tomel stepped back and watched quietly. The healers worked quickly, touching her skin, checking her breathing. They used machines that showed strange lights and numbers, but no one could find what was wrong. The queen's body looked fine, no signs of injury or disease. But she did not wake up. The healers whispered among themselves. They were worried. The queen's mind voice, which was usually clear and strong, was missing. It was as if a great power had suddenly disappeared. Tomel looked around. The other guards were tense. Some tried to keep calm. The visitors from other planets looked shocked and afraid. The queen was the heart of the empire. Without her, the future was uncertain. After a while, the healers moved the queen to a special room. It was filled with soft light and many devices that hummed quietly. The room was designed to keep the queen safe and help her heal. Tomel was asked to stay nearby. His duty was to protect her at all times. For hours, Tomel sat quietly by the door. He watched the machines and listened to the soft sounds in the room. But his mind was busy with questions. How could the queen fall so suddenly? Why could no one find a cause? Was this some unknown illness? Or something else? As he looked closer, Tomel noticed a faint noise in the room. It was a soft humming sound, almost like music. The sound came from the small machines near the ceiling. Most people did not hear it or paid no attention. But Tomel's human ears caught it clearly. He stood up and walked slowly to the machine. The humming was steady but low, almost a secret song. When the sound grew louder, the queen's body twitched slightly. Tomel saw her fingers move. It was small, but real. He stepped back quietly and watched. The queen's body relaxed again when the humming stopped. It was as if the sound was affecting her. Tomel wondered if the sound was helping or hurting her. The healers had not mentioned it. They were focused on medicines and machines. But Tomel's human senses told him something important was happening. That night, the palace was quiet except for the hum. Tomel stayed near the queen's room. He wanted to understand the strange connection between the sound and the queen's condition. Outside, the stars shone bright. The Varellan Empire seemed peaceful, but inside the palace, a silent battle was beginning. Tomel knew this was only the start of a mystery much bigger than anyone expected. He did not yet know that his simple guard's eyes and ears would soon uncover a secret that could change everything. The next morning, the palace was quiet. The queen still did not speak or move much. The healers were busy, but they seemed confused. They could not find any new clues. The visitors from other planets whispered among themselves, worried for the future of the empire. Tomel stood near the queen's chamber. He kept thinking about the humming sound. It was strange and soft, but it seemed to affect her. No one else had noticed it clearly. The Varellans had different hearing than humans. They could not hear sounds as low as the ones Tomel could. Tomel decided to listen carefully. He moved closer to the machine that made the humming. He could hear a steady low hum mixed with other quiet noises. It felt like a secret language. He watched the queen's body. every time the humming changed its tone. The queen's fingers moved or her eyes fluttered. The healers said she was unconscious, but Tomal was not sure. It looked like the queen was trying to respond but could not. Tomal thought about the machines in the palace. Many robots and droids moved through the halls, cleaning and fixing things. Most of them were small and quiet. He wondered if one of these droids made the humming. During his rounds later that day, Tomal followed the soft humming through the halls. He noticed a small maintenance droid moving near the queen's wing. The droid was silver and smooth. With blinking lights, it passed near the queen's room several times. Each time the droid came close, the humming grew louder. Each time it moved away, the sound stopped. Tomal watched the queen closely. Every time the humming started, the queen's body twitched a little. Tomal felt a chill. Could this droid be the reason for the queen's strange illness? He wanted to tell the healers, but he was not sure they would listen. They seemed confident in their medical skills and might not believe a guard's simple idea. Instead, Tomal decided to watch the droid closely. He followed it when it left the queen's wing. The droid moved slowly down the corridors. Tomal kept his distance and stayed hidden. He saw the droid stop near the engineering bay. Inside the bay, many other droids worked. Tomal knew this place was for fixing machines and making repairs. The engineers were busy and did not notice him. Tomal watched as the small droid entered the bay and moved to a work table. It seemed to connect to some machines there. Tomal noticed a faint light coming from inside the droid. It was soft but steady. That night, Tomal returned to the queen's chamber. He wanted to listen to the humming again. As he stood near the door, the soft sound began. He focused on the tones and rhythms. Suddenly, the queen's fingers moved again. This time, her eyes opened a little. Tomal gasped quietly. Was she waking up? He called for the healers. The healers rushed in and saw the queen's small movements. They quickly checked her vitals. Her heartbeat was steady. Her breathing was calm. They looked at Tomal with surprise. Maybe his idea was right. The healers asked Tomal about the humming sound. He told them about the droid and how the sound changed the queen's condition. Some healers were curious. Others were skeptical. The chief healer, a tall Varellan named Morin, said, "If this sound is important, we must learn more, find the source, and test it." Tomal felt a small hope. Maybe now they would listen. Maybe the mystery of the queen's illness would be solved. Over the next days, Tomal and the healers worked together. They recorded the humming sounds and watched the droid's movements. The droid passed by the queen's room many times a day, always humming softly. Tomal learned to recognize the pattern of the hum. Sometimes it changed speed or tone. Sometimes it stopped completely. Each change seemed to affect the queen. One day, Tomal noticed something new. When the humming stopped, the queen's fingers moved more. When the humming started again, her body stiffened. It was like the sound controlled her. The healers were amazed. They had never seen anything like this. They had to find a way to stop the humming and help the queen recover. Tomal felt proud to help. He was a human guard, new to this strange world. But he had something special, human senses that saw and heard things others missed. As the sun set over the palace, Tomal stood guard outside the queen's chamber. The humming was quiet for now. The queen rested. Tomal looked at the stars shining outside. He wondered who put the humming sound in the droid. Was it an accident or a plan? He did not know yet, but he promised himself to find the truth. The mystery of the queen's sudden illness was deeper than anyone thought, and Tomal was ready to uncover it. Tomal could not stop thinking about the strange humming and the queen's condition. Every day, he watched the small silver droid move through the halls. Each time it passed near the queen's chamber, the humming started again. Each time it moved away, the sound stopped. The healers were working hard, but they still had no clear answer. Tomal believed the humming was the key, but when he told the healers, many just smiled politely and said it was probably nothing. The queen's illness is a mystery of biology, one said. Sounds do not cause such effects. Another added, Tomal felt frustrated. He was only a guard, and humans were still new in Varellan society. Many saw humans as simple or unimportant, but Tomel knew what he saw and heard. He had to do more. One morning, Tomel went to the palace's main engineering bay. He wanted to learn more about the strange droid and its humming. The bay was large and full of machines. Engineers worked on repairing devices and building new ones. Tomel spoke to the chief engineer, a middle-aged Varellan named Varek. Varek listened politely as Tomel explained what he had seen. A small droid that passes near the queen and makes a strange hum, Tomel said. Varek frowned. That droid is part of the palace's maintenance team, he said. They keep everything clean and running smoothly. I did not know about any strange humming. Tomel asked if he could see the sound logs. Maybe the droid's humming was recorded. Varek shook his head. Sound logs are private and only engineers can access them, he said. Tomel did not give up. He asked for permission to observe the droid closely. Varek agreed, but warned him not to interfere with the machines. For days, Tomel watched the droid. He noticed it sometimes stopped near the queen's room and gave off the humming. Sometimes the humming changed its tone or speed. It was not random. One afternoon, Tomel tried to get closer. He followed the droid when it entered a small service room near the queen's wing. The door was locked. Tomel could not enter. He returned. Later, with a small tool, he picked the lock quietly and slipped inside. The room was empty except for a few small machines and tools. Suddenly, Tomel heard a soft sound. It came from a small box on the floor. He picked it up and listened. The humming was inside. He opened the box carefully. Inside was a small crystal that pulsed with light. The humming came from it. Tomel was amazed. He had never seen a crystal like this before. It was not part of the usual machines. He took the crystal and left the room. Later, Tomel went to the medical wing. He wanted to show the crystal to the healers. He hoped they would understand its importance, but when he arrived, the healers were busy. Tomel waited for the chief healer, Morin. When Morin came, Tomel showed him the crystal and explained his findings. Morin looked at the crystal and frowned. "This is unusual," he said, "but it does not prove anything. We must run tests." Tomel nodded. He wanted to help, but he saw doubt in Morin's eyes. The healers were experts in biology, not in strange crystals or machines. Days passed as the healers studied the crystal. They used machines to scan it and analyze its energy. They found it sent out a low-frequency vibration, just like the humming. But they said the vibrations were too weak to cause harm. They still believed the queen's illness was natural. They focused on medicines and treatments. Tomel felt alone. No one seemed to listen to him. The humming was real. The crystal was real. But no one wanted to believe it could be a weapon. One evening, Tomel returned to the queen's chamber. He stood silently and listened. The humming started again. The queen's fingers twitched. Tomel made a decision. He would find the source of the crystal. He would discover who put it there and why. He began asking quietly around the palace. He talked to other guards and workers. Some were afraid to speak. Others did not know. Then a small clue came from a palace servant. The servant whispered about a noble named Lord Ivan. Ivan was close to the queen, but had many enemies. Some said he wanted more power. Tomel wondered if Lord Ivan could be involved, but he had no proof. He needed to be careful. Tomel decided to watch Lord Ivan. He followed him from a distance. He saw Ivan meet with shadowy figures in secret places. They spoke in low voices. Tomel could not hear their words. The human guard felt the danger. He knew this was bigger than a simple illness. Someone was trying to silence the queen. But why and how far did the plan go? Tomel kept his eyes open. He would not let the queen fall without a fight. Tomel's mind was full of questions as he walked through the quiet halls of the palace. The strange crystal hidden inside the small maintenance droid was unlike anything he had ever seen. He knew it was not part of the regular machines used by the Varellans. Someone had put it there on purpose. He decided to take a risk. That night, when the palace was dark and most people were asleep, Tomel returned to the engineering bay. He wanted to learn more about the crystal and the droid. Maybe the engineers could help. Maybe they would tell him something new. The engineering bay was large and filled with tools and parts. The soft glow of screens lit the room. Tomo looked around carefully. He found the droid resting on a charging station. It was silent now, no humming. He opened the droid's casing gently, careful not to damage it inside. The small crystal pulsed with a soft blue light. Tomo touched it lightly. It felt cool and smooth. He took out his small scanner device, a tool he used to check machines during his guard duties. The scanner showed strange readings. The crystal was sending low-frequency waves, like a quiet signal. Tomo had no idea what the signal meant, but he knew it was important. The Queen's illness, the humming sound, the crystal, they were all connected suddenly. He heard footsteps. Tomo quickly closed the droid's casing and turned. A figure appeared in the doorway. It was Varek, the chief engineer. Varek looked surprised to see Tomo in the bay at this hour. "What are you doing here, human?" he asked. Tomo took a deep breath. "I want to help the Queen," he said. "I found this crystal inside the droid near her chamber. I think it is connected to her illness." Varek's eyes narrowed. "You should not be here. These machines are dangerous if you do not know what you are doing." Tomo nodded. "I know, but this crystal is not normal. It sends signals that match the humming sound near the Queen." Varek paused, then motioned for Tomo to follow him to a secure room. Inside, they found a console connected to palace security systems. Varek typed quickly. "If someone placed this crystal in the droid, there may be more like it," he said. They searched through the palace records and security footage. Tomo watched the screen as images flashed by. After several minutes, Varek stopped. "Look here," he said, pointing at a video. The footage showed a shadowy figure entering the engineering bay late at night. The figure moved quickly and carefully placed a small object inside one of the maintenance droids. The figure wore a hood, hiding there. Tomo's heart beat faster. "Can we see who it is?" he asked. Varek shook his head. The cameras were blocked during that time. Someone disabled them. Tomo's mind raced. Someone inside the palace wanted to keep the secret. He asked, "Can we find out who blocked the cameras?" Varek nodded. "We can try, but it will take time." Tomo looked at the droid again. "We need to stop the humming. It is hurting the Queen." Varek agreed. "I will help you shut down the droids that have these crystals. But we must be careful. If the wrong people find out, there will be trouble." Tomo felt a mix of fear and determination. He knew the palace was full of secrets, but he would not let the Queen suffer in silence. Over the next days, Tomo and Varek worked quietly. They identified several maintenance droids with crystals inside them. Each one sent low-frequency signals. They created a plan to remove the crystals without alerting the palace guards or the mysterious saboteurs. One night, Tomo and Varek started their work. They moved through the palace halls, opening droids and taking out the crystals. The humming stopped each time. As the last crystal was removed, Tomo felt hope. Maybe the Queen would recover. But their work did not go unnoticed. In a dark room high above the palace, Lord Ivan watched the palace through a large window. His face was cold and angry. He had learned about the missing crystals. He knew someone was interfering with his plan. He turned to his closest advisor. "Find out who is behind this," he said, "and stop them before it is too late." Tomo and Varek had made progress, but danger was near. The mystery of the Queen's illness was not just a strange illness. It was a secret battle for power. Tomo knew he must be ready for whatever came next. The Queen's voice was fading, but with the truth, maybe she could speak again. The palace was quiet but tense. Tomo and Varek had removed the strange crystals from the maintenance droids. The humming stopped near the Queen's chamber for the first time in days. The Queen's breathing seemed calmer. The healers watched closely, hopeful, but Tomo knew this was not over. The crystals were only part of a bigger plan. Someone inside the palace wanted to control the Queen, or worse, remove her completely. Tomo kept his eyes open. He watched the palace halls and listened carefully. The shadow of danger was still there. One afternoon, while on guard duty near the palace garden, Tomo saw Lord Ivan. The noble walked with confidence, surrounded by servants and guards. His sharp eyes scanned the area. Always alert, Tomel followed him quietly, keeping distance. He wanted to learn more about Ivan's plans. The human guard felt that the noble was the key to the mystery. Ivan entered a small building near the garden. Tomel waited outside. After a few minutes, a secret door opened, and Ivan slipped inside. Tomel looked around. The building was old and worn. It had strange symbols carved into the walls. Tomel guessed this was a hidden meeting place. He waited until the room was empty, then went inside. The air was cold and smelled of metal. On the floor, Tomel found small pieces of paper with writing he did not understand. He picked them up carefully. The symbols looked like codes or messages. Tomel knew he needed help. He went to Varek. The engineer was surprised but agreed to help. Together, they studied the papers. Varek recognized some symbols from ancient languages used by secret groups in the Empire. The messages spoke of a plan to weaken the queen and take power during the confusion. They warned of spies inside the palace, working for Lord Ivan. Tomel's heart beat fast. The danger was closer than he thought. That night, Tomel decided to guard the queen personally. He stayed by her side in the quiet room. The queen's breathing was steady. Her eyes fluttered but did not open fully. Tomel watched the door carefully. He did not trust anyone. The palace was full of secrets and shadows. Suddenly, a soft noise came from the hallway. Tomel grabbed his weapon and moved quietly. He saw a figure near the door. It was one of the palace servants, but Tomel felt something was wrong. He stepped forward and stopped the servant. The servant looked nervous and tried to run. Tomel caught him and asked, "Why are you here at this hour?" The servant whispered, "I was told to watch the queen. I did not know who gave the order." Tomel's mind raced. Someone inside the palace was spying. Someone wanted to control the queen even more. He decided to take the servant to the chief healer, Morin. Maybe the servant knew more. Morin was calm but serious. "This is worse than we thought," he said. "The queen's illness is being used as a tool. We must protect her at all costs." Tomel agreed. He promised to watch carefully and stop anyone who tried to harm the queen. The next day, Tomel and Varek worked with palace security to increase patrols. They searched for hidden devices and listened for strange sounds. But the palace was large and full of corners. It was easy to hide. Tomel felt the weight of his duty. He was not just a guard. He was a protector of hope. One evening, while walking near the queen's chamber, Tomel heard a faint humming again. His heart sank. He followed the sound to a storage room. Inside, he found another droid. This one was different. It was larger and had many small crystals inside. The droid's humming was louder and more powerful. It was a machine designed to control or hurt the queen. Tomel tried to disable it, but as he touched the droid, a sudden alarm went off. The room's doors locked shut. Tomel realized it was a trap. Someone was watching him. He looked around quickly. There was no way out. Then, a voice came from the shadows. It was Lord Ivan. "So, you found my secret," Ivan said calmly. "But you are too late." Tomel stood firm. "Why are you doing this? The queen is your leader." Ivan smiled coldly. "The queen is weak. She cannot lead. I will bring a new order, one that is strong and powerful." Tomel felt anger, but also fear. He knew he had to act fast. Using his training, he searched the droid's control panel. He found a way to shut it down. With a quick move, he disabled the droid. The humming stopped. The doors unlocked. Ivan's face changed. "This is not over," he warned. Tomel did not answer. He left the room quickly and went to tell Varek and Morin. Together, they planned their next steps. The battle to save the queen was not just about illness. It was about trust, power, and courage. Tomel knew the path ahead was dangerous, but he also knew he would not give up. The queen's voice was faint, but it still had power, and Tomel was ready to help her find it again. The palace was no longer a safe place. Lord Ivan's power had grown, and his plans to control the queen had become clearer. Tomel felt the weight of his duty heavier than ever. The queen's health was still weak, but with every day that passed, her strength seemed to return slowly. The strange humming was gone after they removed the crystals from the droids. Still, the threat from inside the palace remained. Tomel could not do this alone. He needed help. The healers were busy caring for the queen, and the engineers were focused on the machines. But Tomel knew he needed someone who understood both the palace secrets and the politics around Lord Ivan. One afternoon, while walking through the palace gardens, Tomel met a woman he had not seen before. She was a quiet figure dressed in simple clothes, but her eyes were sharp and kind. Her name was Mara. She worked as a palace librarian, caring for old books and records. She knew many secrets hidden in the palace's history. Tomel spoke to Mara about the queen's illness and the strange crystals. Mara listened carefully and nodded. I have seen stories of such crystals in ancient texts, she said. They were used to control minds and hearts. This is very dangerous, Tomel asked. Do you know how to stop them completely? Mara thought for a moment. There's a legend about a device called the Silent Stone. It can block any signal or sound, no matter how strong. It was lost long ago, but if we find it, it might help the queen. Tomel felt hope grow inside him. Can you help me find it? Mara smiled softly. Yes, I will help you. Together, they began searching the old palace archives. The dusty shelves held scrolls and books that told the history of the empire and its rulers. They read about the Silent Stone and the power it held, according to the texts. The Silent Stone was hidden deep within the palace's oldest part, a place few dared to enter. It was called the Vault of Echoes. The vault was protected by puzzles and traps to keep it safe from enemies. Tomel and Mara decided to find the vault. They knew it would be dangerous, but the queen needed them. Before they left, Mara warned, we must be careful. Lord Ivan will try to stop us. He does not want the queen to heal. Tomel nodded. We will watch each other's backs at night. They entered the palace's hidden passages. The walls were cold and covered with strange symbols. Their footsteps echoed softly as they moved deeper into the shadows. They faced many challenges. Locked doors, secret switches, and strange riddles tested their courage and wits. Mara used her knowledge of the old texts to solve the puzzles. Tomel used his strength and speed to move quickly. After hours, they reached a large stone door with glowing runes. Mara read the inscription aloud. Only those who seek truth with pure hearts may enter. Tomel touched the runes. The door slowly opened, revealing a small chamber. In the center was a smooth stone glowing faintly with silver light, the Silent Stone. Tomel and Mara approached carefully. The stone's power was strong but calm. Mara reached out and took the stone in her hands. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed behind them. The door slammed shut. They were trapped. A voice spoke from the shadows. It was Lord Ivan. You are clever, but not clever enough, he said. Give me the Silent Stone, and I might spare you. Tomel stood between Mara and Ivan. We will not let you harm the queen or the empire. Ivan laughed coldly. You are only one guard and one librarian. You cannot stop me. Tomel felt fear, but also courage. He looked at Mara, who held the Silent Stone tightly. Then, Mara whispered an idea. The stone can block sounds. Maybe it can stop your words too. Ivan sneered and took a step forward. Mara lifted the stone, and a silver light spread from it. The air grew still. Ivan's voice faded until it was silent. Ivan tried to speak, but no sound came. His anger turned to confusion. Tomel took this chance. He stepped forward and called for the palace guards waiting outside the vault. They rushed in and captured Lord Ivan. The threat was over. Tomel and Mara returned to the queen's chamber. The Silent Stone's power was strong. The healers used it to shield the queen from any remaining signals. Days later, the queen's eyes opened. Her voice was soft but clear. Thank you, she said to Tomel, and Mara. The palace cheered. The queen was healing. The empire was safe again. Tomel looked at Mara and smiled. Together, they had found hope in the darkness. The palace was alive with excitement. News spread quickly. The queen was awake. Her eyes, bright and clear, looked around the chamber. For days, she had been silent, weak, and distant. Now, she was back. The silence that had filled the halls was replaced with hope. Tomel stood by the queen's side. The human guard who had watched, searched, and fought for her was finally rewarded. The healers were busy preparing medicines and soft food. The queen's lips moved softly, speaking words that no one had heard for a long time. "Thank you, Tomel," she said in a gentle voice. Her words carried strength and kindness. Tomel felt proud. He looked at Mara, who was also near the queen. Mara smiled quietly. The librarian's help had been as important as the guard's courage. The silent stone rested on a small table nearby. It glowed softly, still protecting the queen from any hidden harm. The queen's recovery was slow but steady. She spent days resting and talking to her advisors. The palace guards, now more alert, kept watch for any signs of trouble. Tomel was given a new role. He was not just a guard anymore. The queen made him her special protector and advisor. He would help keep the palace safe and learn more about the strange threats they faced. One afternoon, the queen called a meeting in the great hall. Nobles, healers, engineers, and guards gathered to hear her speak. Lord Ivan was no longer there. He had been imprisoned for his crimes against the queen and the empire. The queen's voice was strong as she addressed the crowd. "We faced great danger together. My illness was no accident. Someone tried to harm me to take control of the empire. But thanks to bravery and truth, the threat is ended." She looked at Tomel and Mara. These two showed courage and wisdom. They remind us that strength comes in many forms. We must always be ready to listen and trust. The crowd cheered. Tomel felt a warmth inside him. He had never imagined such words from a queen of another. Days turned to weeks. The queen worked to heal the divisions in the palace. She met with nobles and common workers. She listened to their concerns and promised fairness and justice. Tomel and Mara continued their work. Mara helped translate and study ancient texts. Learning more about the empire's history and secrets, Tomel trained with the palace guards, preparing them for any dangers that might come. One evening, Tomel and Mara stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The stars shone brightly in the sky, and a soft breeze moved the leaves of the trees below. Mara said softly, "The empire has faced darkness before, but it has always found light. The queen's return is a new beginning." Tomel nodded. "We will protect that light together." Suddenly, a messenger arrived with news. Ships from distant stars were approaching. The empire's allies had heard of the queen's illness and recovery. They came to show support and friendship. The queen smiled. "The future is brighter than ever," she said. Tomel felt hope fill his heart. The journey had been hard-filled, with danger and doubt. But truth and courage had one dot as the stars blinked above. The empire stood strong. The queen's voice was heard once more, clear and true. And Tomel, the human guard, was ready to face whatever came next.